The day this video goes up, I have no idea what is going to be happening in this country, but I hope that everybody is as safe as they possibly can be, and I will be retweeting and reblogging any resources, any kind of safety precautions, any kind of news outlets that we need to keep an eye on and stay up to date. I'm gonna try to be on top of all of that as much as I can. That way any of you guys that follow me that aren't super up to date on things can try to be as up to date as much as, I can. And also please be checking out the link still for the BLM movement in the description, just so we can keep up to date, and if anybody needs help from that specific community, we can help them out through that link. Okay, so two things I'm going to point out before anybody else points them out. I didn't think this shirt was the same color as my skin, and I'm only realizing now in this lighting and everything that it's the same color as my skin, so yes, I'm aware. And also, my eyes are freaking out today. I don't know if it's allergies or something else, but if you see me in this video being it's because my eyes are being really weird. I don't know if I got makeup in them, who knows? But I wanted to point those two things out before I get comments about them, alright? This is a fun video. We haven't had a drink on hand in a video in a bit. This is my little poison apple mug. I have it today because I wanted it for the drama of sipping my coffee. Because today in this video we're going to talk about how I'm a huge bitch. So let's do that, because I am very proud of being a huge bitch. And you're going to understand why as I go through this video. So let's take a little sip, and I can get mad at how much lipstick I put on this coffee cup, and let's talk about it. So every time I call myself a huge bitch too, everybody disagrees with me, but I am very proud of being the big bitch that I am. And I say that I'm a huge bitch, but I'm sure the more I talk about in this video, if you have similar kind of ideas and views as me, you're gonna be like, no, that's not being a bitch, that's just existing. But in a lot of situations, I am looked at as a bitch, because of, okay, let me just get into it. So a lot of this came from, I was having a conversation with my mom one day, and a lot of conversations my mom and I have a lot is, about when she was younger, and she talks a lot about her parents, and I'm not going to get into too much detail, but ideally just who I am as a person, how she raised me, not ideally, realistically, who I am as a person, my personality, how she raised me, how I view certain things in society and politics and things like that. Her father and I would not get along at all. At all. And I never met him. He died when she was in her teens, and then her mother died when she was in her late 20s, so I didn't get to meet my mom's, parents. But I'm not super sad that I didn't meet her dad, and that it makes her sad, but at the same time she understands. But we talk about different things, and she'll say different things about him because, I'm sure I'm saying this and you're kind of already cluing in as to what maybe is the situation there, without me going into too much detail, because I'm not airing dirty laundry on the internet. But we'll go into different things, and I'll just make a comment about yeah, I'm really glad I, didn't get to meet him because we wouldn't get along. And she, because it was her father and she did love him, she tries to kind of, not defend it, but she kind of tries to be well, I think he would really like you, Heather, because he viewed, kind of girls like you as he gave them more respect. And I have no problem being well, that's fucked and he should give all women respect. And she kind of, she makes that face. Oh, another conversation we had, maybe this one's a little bit better. My great-grandfather, I was able to meet him when I was very little. He died when I was maybe 6 or 7. And when I was a very, very little girl, he was my absolute icon. He was everything to me, and I was his favorite grandchild. He had no problem telling people that. We would walk into the house and he'd be oh, hi guys, give me the baby. I have a lot of love for my great-grandfather, but I was a very young child when he was alive, and I didn't really know who he was outside of being my grandfather. And in a situation like this, the climate that this country is in, and all of the things that are coming to light and being discussed, I don't know for sure, 100%. I'm not going to deny it because, like I said, I just genuinely don't know. I don't think he would have agreed with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I think a lot of what I talk about and what I put out into the world, he would not be a huge fan of. Neither would my mom's father. But, okay, before I go into my but, just because he was a good person to me and treated me very well doesn't mean he treated everybody very well, and I'm fully acknowledging that. Like I said, I don't know for sure. I'm not defending him, but I'm also not being oh yeah, he was a piece of shit. I'm not saying either one because I genuinely do not know. But I don't think he would agree with a lot of what I talk about and a lot of how I hold myself, a lot of how I present myself, a lot of what I support. I don't think he would have agreed with that realistically. And I said to my mom one time, we were having a conversation, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if he would agree with that. And then I'd be like, all right, Grandpa, sit the fuck down. And she kind of looked at me, she's like, you wouldn't say that to him. And I kind of looked back at her and I was like, yes, I would. If the situation really called for it, yes, I would. I would tell Grandpa to sit the fuck down. And I would teach his ass. And we kind of went back and forth, and she's like, well, Heather, you have to remember that that's just how things are, like, things were at the time. And that is what pisses me off, and that is where I turn into a big bitch. Because it's my mom, it's, like, some older women that I work with at my job, it's a lot of, even, like, younger people that I'm friends with, like, even people in, like, my group, not necessarily about, like, BLM, the Black Lives Matter protests, and like things like that, but just certain situations, like the way, like this misogynist society, the way cishet white men treat other people in the society, and when people just go, well, that's how things are, I go, no, that's fucking not how things are, and that's not how things are gonna stay. And then certain people, when I say things like that, are like, oh my god, here she goes again. And I'm not trying to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm a great ally, because when people bring up the Black Lives Matter protests and say, well, like, that's just how cops are, I'm like a great ally because I fight against it. I do the absolute bare minimum as an ally, and I do need to work on that. But there needs to be conversation. There needs to be a conversation starter. I don't know why I'm, like, moving myself like this. Sorry. I think the very least I can do as an ally for anything, for, you know, the feminist movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, like towards disabilities, towards mental health, anything like that, if I can have an not educated conversation, that sounds weird, because we don't educate bigots, we just start throwing punches at this point. There's a lot of people in your life that make certain decisions, especially white people. They make certain decisions, but there are other white people in your life that, I'm talking to other white people, not, Black and Indigenous people of color. I'm not talking about that group, because it's not your job to educate white people, but other white people. There are people in your life sometimes that don't necessarily understand, because we live in a systematically racist, misogynistic, ableist society. And granted, yeah, that is kind of all we know, but as adults and white people and people in positions of privilege, it is our job to educate other people that are privileged. And there are going to be people in your life that they subscribe to the society because it benefits them, but they don't necessarily know that. And they wouldn't act on it and continue to be, you know, benefiting from this necessarily if they understood more. Does that make sense to anybody? It's educating yourself, and people might not necessarily be disgusting bigots. They just might be uneducated. Again, I'm talking to specifically other white people. It's our job to educate other white people, not people of color. It's not their job. They've been dealing with all this shit for way too long. It's our job to educate. So in that sense, when my mom gets really frustrated with me when I talk about, you know, older relatives, that if they were still alive, she's like, well, Heather, you can't talk to somebody like that. Well, why? If my great-grandfather, who I love and adored very, very much and was very good to me, said some disgusting racist shit in front of me, him and I would have a conversation, and I would not be nice about it, because he's not being nice about it. He wouldn't use nice language. This conversation would spark from him not using nice language. He would say some disgusting, like, probably vile and violent shit, because that's all he knows. No. Because older people especially, and that's why I kind of don't like old people. I know there's a lot more to it than just like, yeah, old people are gross. But just from my personal experience, I'm not a huge fan of old people. And I also don't interact with them a lot. So that's probably, like, I interact with some of them, but not a lot of them. But if he said some disgusting shit, I would tell him to shut his mouth and sit down. And older people sometimes, like in the sense of my great-grandfather, if he was alive, would say disgusting shit because they know it's disgusting. They don't say it not knowing. You come to a point in your life where you learn what certain things mean, and it's fucking gross. And if he said some racist shit, I would clock his ass. And again, that's not me being like, I'm a really good ally. My dead great-grandfather, I would tell him he's being racist. That's not what I'm trying to get at here. I'm just saying that to my mother, that makes me seem like a cunt. Oh, will my video get blocked for that word specifically? Everything else hopefully won't get it blocked, but maybe if I say that word. But admit, that's the word I wanted to use, but I know that title is not gonna fly. I don't care if that makes me seem like a huge bitch. I really don't. I'm sorry. It's not... We need to stop hand-holding, like, people that are gross and believe in really shitty things. Like, anything... I don't care if it's an old person, I don't care if it's somebody my age, I don't care if it's like a teenager, I don't give a shit how old they are. If they are somebody in a position of privilege, we really need to stop hand-holding those people. Because it's really disgusting. Like, it really, like, especially the hand-holding and, like, the coddling, it really does make them think that, like, it's okay, but, like, let's work on it. That's not, like... There's a difference between, like, teaching young children and telling somebody, hey, that's disgusting, don't ever say that again. This is why you're not going to say it again. You know what I mean? There is a difference there, because younger kids sometimes need to be explained to in a bit of a softer tone, even though kids aren't stupid. I feel like I'm going all over the place with this. My point is here that a lot of people, maybe they overhear things that I say, maybe don't get the context and think, whoa, this girl's a bitch. But it's because I don't mollycoddle people. Like, my mom said something a while ago, and I don't even remember what it was. I just remember that it kind of sparked a huge thing between us. And my mom and I are very extremely close. I talk about her all the time. My mom and I are very extremely close, and whatever she said one time was just not okay. And I told her that, and it kind of became into a thing, and I could tell that she was frustrated with me because we like, kind of have spats, we kind of have disagreements, you know, but I don't really argue with my mom a lot. And whatever had happened at the time, she said something, and I was like, and that's not okay. And she just looked at me, and I was like, we're not doing that, you're not saying that. And I don't know, maybe in a sense I could have said it better because she's my mom and respect and all that, but we've had this whole conversation. This is resolved between us. But I think in situations like that, where if somebody's saying something really gross and you like can tell that they're old enough and educated enough that they know it's really gross, you don't need to be polite to them in that situation. And a lot of what this country also relies on is being polite to your elders and showing respect to your elders. Not necessarily elderly people, but like people older than you just because they're older and in a place of authority, which is absolute bullshit. That's also what a lot of systematic racism in this country relies on as well, which is so disgusting. But I don't do that. And a lot of people, even people that aren't necessarily older than me, but you know how sometimes you have a manager that's like your age? Even situations like that, because obviously at work it's kind of different because I have to have this job. But it doesn't matter to me because I was raised my entire life, which is funny because sometimes my mom and I get into arguments and I'm like, this is how you raised me. What are you talking about? It doesn't matter to me because literally from day one, I was taught that you don't have to show somebody respect unless they respect you. Unless there's a two-way street here, you don't have to show anybody respect. And a lot of people don't like that. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm looked at as a huge bitch by a lot of people because I don't immediately show them respect. If they're being rude, I'm rude right back. And that's kind of the energy I hope... I know a lot of people really aren't able to have that energy because that's just that I'm a white woman, I work in retail. Sometimes when my manager says something kind of weird and gross and mean, I'm like, okay, but what's with the attitude? Like, why do you need to act like that? You could ask me this way. And I know that I'm extremely privileged to be able to say that shit because I know a lot of other people in this country and in this world, if they said anything like that, they'd get fired and probably attacked. Which, like, is not okay. I don't know. I'm not good with kind of explaining what rattles around in my head, and I know that videos probably like this should be scripted. And I think more of what I wanted to do with this video is kind of let you guys know that you can do that. Obviously, within parameters of safety. If you know that this is a kind of a conversation, like if somebody says something gross, you can be in... Bleh. If somebody says something gross and you're in a position where you're safe and there's not like very dangerous repercussions, please be like, actually, what the fuck is that? We're gonna dial that back and you're gonna tell me why you think that's okay. In the parameters of safety. But like a lot of white people, a lot of people I went to school with, a lot of people I graduated with, a lot of people that watch me that are like maybe a little bit younger, a little bit older than me, I think a lot of you could do it. I think a lot of you could. I grew up with an abusive parent. And near the end of it, I mean, I was very lucky. It was never, knock on wood, it was never physical or anything, but it was still abuse. Near the end of me being involved with them, I started reading his ass the filth. He would do some dumb shit and I'd be like, so what was the point of that? Because you're a full-grown adult. And again, granted, I was privileged. It was in a space of safety where I knew I wouldn't get hit or anything. But I know a lot of you, like at Thanksgiving dinners, I see you doing the whole posting a black square and tweeting hashtag Black Lives Matter, but then you got drunk with your racist grandma and laughed at the disgusting jokes she made. I know you did. We're gonna have to work on that. We're gonna have to work on that. We're gonna start calling grandma out and slapping that wine bottle out of her hand, and if she has a heart attack at 80 years old, well, she's a racist bigot and maybe we're better off without her. Oh, God, this video got aggressive and very messy. But you know what? Maybe we need to be aggressive and messy. All the shitty people in this world that run everything and are causing most of the problems are really shitty and aggressive, so maybe we need to start doing it too. And a lot of my videos, I feel like, are gonna get more aggressive when I talk about, like, activism and, like, what we can do to help. And I feel like if you are a person of privilege and you're getting uncomfortable with kind of how aggressive I am about it, I think you're gonna need to take a step back and think about that. And I think I'm gonna be a little unpopular because of it. And I don't really care because it's like I keep saying, it's the very bare minimum of what I can do as an ally. Me talking about different issues and mentioning, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and different, you know, situations in this world is the bare fucking minimum. But it needs to, I think I need to start somewhere. And a lot of it is me talking about it and having conversations with, one-sided conversation with all of you that watch me. And I mean, my comments are always open. My DMs and everything are usually pretty open for this. If you're a disgusting piece of shit and you want to say some creepy shit or some mean stuff, I will block you. But if you want to have like a genuine conversation, if you want to reach out and be like, hey, what do you mean by this? Can you educate me more on it? I'll be more than happy to help. Even if I don't have the direct answers, I will help you find resources for answers and everything. But I want you guys to know that this isn't stopping. I'm not going to stop talking about this stuff because it's important. It's incredibly important. It doesn't directly affect me, but it affects the rest of this world. And that's what you need to do as an activist and an ally. You need to talk about what affects everybody, not just you. So I don't know if the title is going to be kind of clickbaity because I don't know. I feel like I didn't talk about what the title is going to kind of seem like I talk about. But cheers to that. I don't know. Clickbait? I don't know how to end this video. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave a like if you agree that I'm a huge bitch. Whether you agree in a good way or a bad way, leave a like. Maybe get some more subscribers up in here. Maybe share to people you think would agree with me. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye! What the fuck was I even doing in 90% of that video? I don't even know.